Welcome to Alpha Bites, where we serve up bite-sized insights to help you grow your business and your bank account. Our host, Alex Zinni, CEO of Alpha Key Digital, dives into the latest marketing trends, proven strategies, and actionable tips to scale your online presence. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, Alpha Bites delivers the keys to unlocking your success. Now, let's get started with the show.
I'm Alex Zinni, your host of Alpha Bites, where I sit down with inspiring business leaders, entrepreneurs, and people that work in government to dive into what drives them and to uncover the secrets behind their successes. But first, this episode's brought to you by Alpha Key Digital, where we specialize in delivering measurable digital marketing results. Our latest success story? We helped a private medical practice grow their patient base by over 30% in just 12 months through a strategic blend of search engine optimization, paid advertising, and website optimization. By refining their local search presence and optimizing their appointment booking process, we not only increase patient inquiries, but also improve their conversion rate, bringing in more qualified patients through the door. If you want to transform your online presence, then visit alphakeydigital.com to book an introductory call with Madison Hewitt. I want to give a special shout out to the Mentor Area Chamber of Commerce, where I met today's guest while serving on their board of directors. Christine Weber, the current CEO at the Chamber, was on this show, so go back and check out her episode. Today's guest is Kevin D. Malecek. Kevin has served in a variety of capacities in the governmental, business, nonprofit, and political arenas in Northeastern Ohio. Currently, Kevin serves as the Director of Economic Development and International Trade for the City of Mentor, Ohio. In that position, Kevin oversees economic development, business attraction, retention, and expansion efforts both domestically and internationally for one of the largest manufacturing and retail centers in the state of Ohio, representing over 200 manufacturers and 300 plus retailers, restaurants, and professional service firms. During his tenure, Malecek orchestrated relationships with organizations in both the UK and Ireland that resulted in foreign direct investment in Mentor, the expansion of business prospects in the UK for Mentor-based companies, and an ongoing dialogue and exchange with various entities in the UK, Ireland, and Germany for further economic cooperation and development, including the organization of inbound and outbound trade missions. Kevin is one of those guys who's everywhere. He's doing so many different things, and I'm so glad that he took time out of his extremely busy schedule to be on the show. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Alex. I'm very glad to be here and talking to you and your audience.
Oh, thank you. So let's just dive right in. Tell me, how did you land in your current position there in the city of Mentor?
Sure. Well, as oftentimes when people follow a career path, it's not a straight and narrow path that it's followed. There's a lot of twists and turns and that type of thing. And I think if you would have asked me, 20 years ago, as I was just trying to get started, if I'd ever be in a position like this, I probably would have laughed and said, no, it's pretty crazy. But, we all know how life and professions work. So about, 10, 12 years ago, now a little bit more than that, perhaps, I was the director of the MBA program at Case Western Reserve University. Great MBA program, ranked nationally. The full-time program, world-renowned. A lot of international students in that program that I had kind of gotten in through my experience in higher education and having a good relationship with the dean. And when that role came to an end, there was a great opportunity to be the president and CEO of the Mentor Area Chamber of Commerce. So I came out and did that job for a few years. Chamber was having some financial difficulties at the time, was really able to turn it around. And it was a really just kind of fantastic experience to be there and get involved with businesses of all stripes. And that's the great thing about being a mentor. You've got tremendous manufacturers, those also world-renowned manufacturers, global corporations like Steris and Avery Dennison. And then you've got small mom and pop businesses and small machine shops, retail, and that type of thing. It's really a great, diverse, vibrant economy it's a great cross-section of America and the American economy. So being in that role really exposed me to a lot of that. I moved into the county commissioner role. I was in that for a couple of years and really did try to focus my involvement and agenda on economic development. We had some very interesting projects that kind of took place at that time, particularly in Denorotech, which has had a great expansion in our Mentor, over 200 employees, 200,000 square foot facility. I was involved with that as county commissioner. So when this job came available, when Ron Traub retired after almost 30 years in the role, Ken Filipiak, our city manager, our CEO of the city, reached out to me, and it was definitely something. There was a mutual interest of me coming on and him bringing me on his side of and I knew all of council, knew obviously a lot of existing business owners, but really had the chance to be in the direct involvement of of recruiting and retaining businesses both domestically and internationally in this role. So I've been in this role for about 6.5 years now, and we've had a lot of successes in the role. I have challenges like any community, but the city's in very good shape. We have a $70 million plus carryover, so very, very healthy financially. We're very fortunate to be in that position, but that is a reflection of this great, diverse, productive, profitable economy that we have here in the city.
Yeah. One of the things you said, Kevin, that I think is just so important is that you stayed open to opportunities. If you would have asked yourself 20 years ago, if any of us would have asked ourselves 10, 15, 20 years ago where we thought we would be, it's not often a straight line, and it's not often that we are exactly there. So you're staying open and going through all these tremendous roles, is incredible. I mean, Case Western Reserve, that's my alma mater. I went there for undergrad. Dean Hurley at Weatherhead, he's a great guy.
Oh, no, Jim Welsh, sure.
It was awesome. I love Jim. And, it's just great to hear that your trajectory led you to where you are today. And for those listening who don't know, Mentor is an extremely vibrant community. It's about a half hour east of Cleveland, and there's just so much going on. Alpha Key Digital, my company's HQ, has been in Mentor for years now, and it's a great place to do business. But one of the things you said that I'm really interested in is, your development of foreign nations bringing their business into Mentor as well. What have you seen has been really effective in attracting foreign investment to Mentor, and how do you see it evolving into the future?
Well, Meta's always been somewhat internationally facing, and that's just a function, again, primarily for the manufacturers that have been here. I mentioned Steris, Avery Dennison. These are truly global corporations. Steris, while its main presence is here in Metro, they're actually officially headquartered in Ireland. They've been headquartered in both the UK and Ireland, mostly for tax inversion purposes. But you have so many companies here that are not there. Some are international subsidiaries, and then you have some that are doing a lot of export work. So the city, about 10 years ago, when I was just finishing my role at the chamber before I became county commissioner, they decided to start an international trade initiative. And initially, that was really to kind of help existing Mentor companies work on their export performance, what they could do to build different types of relationships. We learned a lot from the city of Akron because they had actually had a really great international trade program as well, very successful in bringing in some international companies to invest, but also helping their existing companies. That program has definitely evolved in the last 10, 11 years that it's been around, and very much since I've been there. It's really primarily based on relationship building. For the last probably 3-4 years, really since COVID, we had an existing program before COVID, had delegations and companies visit here, had a company or two set up as a result of the program. But really since COVID happened, we've done a lot of relationship building, and that requires time and effort and resources and energy on our side. We do annual trade missions. We're in, conference rooms and presenting to different companies, probably, 4 or 5 different types of those interactions every day that we're over there. It's very busy that we do a very intense experience to go over and have these conversations. But because we've done that, and we brought Mentor and the opportunities that are here to these various companies that are overseas, we've really seen resonance with companies being very interested into what we could do for them. And we've obviously then seen companies like Block Digital, a company from the UK that specializes in digital visualization and 3D technology, works with a lot of different manufacturers, being introduced into the Eaton Corporation and others here in Mentor, and they've used their services to Halcyon Corporation right now, Halcyon Group setting up right now, and they do cooking oil recycling, which has been, I think, it's been very welcomed by a lot of the restaurants and organizations we've brought them into as kind of an innovative tool that can really save them a lot of money. So those are two just examples, but we've made many, many dozens and dozens of other connections. And sometimes it can be as minimal as a company needs a connection with the Cleveland Clinic. We obviously have their hospital system here. The clinic has a hospital in London that we've been to several times and interacted with their staff on a regular basis. And sometimes it can be that simple that just need kind of a connection. And other times they may be a couple of years off from setting up in the US, and we need to foster that relationship, and it can take time for them to get over there. With the two companies I just mentioned, it took about a year or so, year and a half to get them to actually make a visit here. We find if companies do make the effort to come here and have a visit and we organize that visit for them, they're going to be very interested in setting up here because it's all about the relationship, the hand-holding, the concierge-based type of approach that we take to really giving a business individualized attention, helping them build a potential customer base, helping them with office space and attorneys and all the things they might need to get set up. And we've definitely found it's been a great recipe for success in terms of what we're doing.
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand, the way that
Yep.
really approach the businesses coming here and really set them up for success. And Mentor is such a great place to be in the country, because there's so many benefits to being in the state of Ohio in general, as opposed to being in one of the very expensive major metropolitan areas. I'm
Absolutely.
gonna ask a little bit of a kind of a maybe a controversial question, but maybe not. With the new administration, and obviously there's going on so many sweeping changes going on right now. It's at lightning speed. It's hard to even keep up with what's what. How do you see the Trump administration affecting, any of these attracting foreign entities or anything, any investments made into our communities from, these overseas countries?
Well, I think it can cut both ways. I mean, if you look at potential tariff policy out there, whether you agree with it or not, if the concept of tariffs is there, if it's going to be on the EU or the UK, and we obviously do a lot of work with Ireland and with companies in the UK as well, and they're different economies. Ireland's in the EU, UK is on its own, and during the last Trump administration, they were actually very close to getting a free trade agreement done with the UK. We could see that potentially happening again. It's we'll just have to see what ends up happening. But if you had those tariffs out there, conceptually, whether you like them or not, it should drive more foreign direct investment in the United States if they want to be in this economy. And I can tell you right now, as the largest economy in the world, they want to be in this economy. That's how when we go over, we can have an event. We had one last year. We'll be doing it again this year with a healthcare association there in London with 30 companies coming to it and hearing about. And then they're not all going to come here, and they're not all going to be exactly a fit for us, or we may not be a fit for them. But there's a lot of interest. So that type of thing could, especially if they're producing anything, inspire them. We need to have a U.S. subsidiary. We need to have operations in the U.S. We need to have boots on the ground, a plant to run from, all of those things. So theoretically, it could be helpful for all those types of things. I will also say, just having a lot of phone calls with our partners overseas the last 3 weeks or so, there's also concern about what this is all going to look like, what the U.S. relationship is going to look like, how it's approaching different type. It is not directly affected anything we're doing. We haven't had people say to us, "Well, we're not going to come," or whatever, to come over, but it could frankly affect visa issuance, that type of thing, getting people in here and so forth. We had Halcyon, I just mentioned, our Irish company, their CEO was here last week. I think he's going to be back again in a couple of weeks, and they're at a critical point of setting up, and they are going to be manufacturing their device here with a Mentor manufacturer and setting up service and so forth. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's trepidation. I wouldn't say necessarily it's real concern, but there's trepidation on some parts just because there's things that are changing quickly. There's a lot of developments every day brings something new, and that will definitely potentially provide some pause for people that would maybe want to come in here otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, understandably. I mean, we'll kind of have to see how things shake out, but I believe there is optimism, and we can see, how that shakes out. But one of the things too, I was thinking while you were talking, is it's great to have all these incentives for, businesses overseas, and try to get them here. But with the local businesses facing, many challenges in today's economic climate, how is the city addressing them, and what can a local business in Mentor do to utilize the resources that they have?
Sure, right. There's a lot of different things. So we obviously have a very close relationship with Monterey Chamber of Commerce. So we encourage businesses to join them, to network and access all of their different events and resources. They can do seminars with various businesses to kind of talk about, a specific service they offer. Some members just join if they're a manufacturer. They need to have access to two certificates of origin so they can effectively export their product with a stamp of approval, for lack of a better term, that's sometimes required in some of these various places that they might send their products to. So the chamber is a huge resource for us in helping some of those existing businesses. We have an open hand and an open ear. We try to do specific, especially with a lot of businesses in our manufacturing sector, what we call business and retention expansion visits with usually partnered with Team Neo and the Lake Development Authority, to sit down with them and talk about what's going on in their business. What's happening with workforce, where do they need new investments? Where are they having problems? And see and troubleshoot with them to see if there's anything that we can do specifically to help them maybe in a certain area. And maybe, they're considering doing an expansion, and hey, that's great. What can we do to help incentivize? So like, you do minor incentives. We have a couple different programs in the city, but we also work with Jobs Ohio closely on larger investments because they can be very helpful. There's a lot of grants and tax credits that are out there. But even ones that are existing here locally that might be looking to expand, well, yeah, we'll sit down with them, and if they fit the criteria, we have formulas that are kind of out there for those types of programs. They're more than happy. We're happy to provide some additional investment in them to keep them in the community and keep them growing. Conversely, every once in a while, and it's only happened a couple times only on my watch, and it's usually for reasons not doing with the city of Mentor. It's usually because of economic reasons, or the owner decides that they don't want to be in the community, they want to move the operations or whatever. We do help with companies that might be looking to do some downsizing and figure out what we can do with helping out with their workforce. Maybe they're going to leave some of their staff here and they just need a smaller space, that type of thing. Those are all things we do as well. So we try to. It's a tough situation because we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, or almost 2,000 businesses here. We can't talk to everybody, but we at least want people to know that we're available there for them, and we'll talk to anybody that reaches out to us, and we'll do our fair amount of outreach as well too.
Yeah, the Mentor Chamber of Commerce too is such a great resource, and any business owner who isn't a part of their local chamber of commerce should definitely join. The certificate of origin, the insurance, the health insurance, there's so many the networking. There's so many different things that can be done there. So, Kevin, how does Mentor position itself? It's very competitive. Attracting businesses to your city is very competitive. How do you guys position yourself, and what differentiates you from other places in Ohio or even the Midwest in general?
I think again, we go back to what I was saying kind of at the outset. We have a vibrant, diverse economy. You have a great retail sector. You have a great manufacturing sector. We make things here, and we serve people here. So and you look back, at COVID times, as far as it goes, we weren't really that adversely affected. A few businesses closed, of course. There was definitely the horrible aspects that we had to go through, but in the long term, we were pretty healthy because we do have that diversity. So that diversity is huge. It's a very low cost of doing business here. You brought it up yourself. Doing business on the East Coast or Chicago or the West Coast or what have you. They're sexy, interesting places, but we are too, and we can do it for sometimes a half to a third in terms of land cost, office rental, on any types of expenses that these businesses need to have. We can offer it at a much, much lower rate, and that's huge for these companies. And honestly, I will tell you, when they do come here, I always find if you're able to get them here, that is 70, 80% of it, because then they see like, wow, what a diverse area we have here. How interesting, what a great quality of life. That's another reason people kind of look here too. Housing has gotten more expensive. It's still a lot less expensive here than it is in other parts of the country, even though the market is tight here. But that quality of life, and we always, when we bring a business here, we're not just selling Mentor, we're selling the whole Northeast Ohio region. Because we take them to companies and different partners and people that could help them here that may not just be within our city borders. It may be the Cleveland Clinic downtown, or we have a delegation coming from Sligo in Ireland in a couple of weeks. They're going to go to Magnet. They're going to meet with the Cleveland Port and Lorraine Port, but they're also going to spend an entire day out here in Munter with AWT and Steris and Block Digital and so forth. So, it's all of those types of things that are kind of out there that we're trying to look at and do as we're trying to bring a business here. There's a lot of different attributes that makes us a very attractive place for business to set up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many compelling reasons. And as somebody who's a lifelong Lake County resident, where Mentor is located, there's so many benefits to being here, and you touched upon them. So it's a great place to do business, raise a family. Like you said, you make things in Mentor, we consume things in Mentor. We do all sorts of things here. And Cleveland, is local, is nearby too. As someone like yourself who's really deeply involved in economic development, you've worked for the government as a county commissioner, you've worked in the education sector, now you work as economic development for the city of Mentor. What trends do you see that are shaping business growth over the next 5 years? It's such a, there's so many changes happening, but what do you see as boots on the ground, for us in store here?
Sure. Workforce is always a challenge. We simply do not have enough workers that are out there in many sectors. Not all of them, but in many sectors. And that is going to be something we're going to have to continue to deal with. And, obviously we talked a little bit about the administration, depending on what's going to be happening with immigration policy, which has been an issue for years and years and years. There needs to really be some movement in that area, however it may go, to ensure that we are going to have quality qualified workers that are here. And another side of that, especially on the manufacturing side, is that if you don't have them, it's more automation. So, and not everything can be automated. You can't do that everything, but that is going to be a big part of going forward. You're seeing it in some sectors and some companies already going forward, is that there's going to be quite a bit of automation. And, and it's almost like beating a dead horse right now because everything you want to talk about, but AI obviously is going to be out there to potentially make work easier for people, make processes easier, that type of, that is the real thing that is obviously going on throughout so many different industries. And we've also, we obviously mentioned we have a huge retail sector here, so it's something we have to keep our close eyes on. We've been able to kind of stem the tide of lots of store closings. You have national stores closed. Party City is closing a bunch of outlets, obviously right now. Big Lots is going out. It's nothing we can do about those, but that's not an indictment of Mentor. And we are kind of the East Side economic hub from basically here out to the Pennsylvania border and over to Cuyahoga. So it's nice being there, and you still have a lot of vibrant retail industries that are out there. But that's something else we're going to have to watch those trends and see how that's all going to kind of look at things going forward for us too. That's going to be a fairly big deal for us going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And we use AI all the time. And one of the things we're doing this year, Kevin, is trying to find as many ways possible to use AI to reduce to speed up processes and to reduce inefficiencies. And that is going to reduce the need for full-time employees in our organization, So it is a trend that everyone's talking about, and more will be revealed. We'll see how it goes. But to know that you guys are in the forefront of this, paying attention to it, and really, keeping your finger on the pulse, that's what we want to see in people working for our cities, and that's really good to hear. I do have one final question, and I try to make the final question really fun and just in something a little different. But before I do that, Kevin, if a business owner in Mentor or someone interested in moving their business to Mentor would like to learn more, where can I point them? Where should they go?
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm always happy to have that conversation with anybody, and as is Kelly Conrad, my deputy that works in this office. But for initial information, we have a lot of it up there. Our website, mentormeansbusiness.com, www.mentormeansbusiness, all one word, .com. That is the place to go. There's all kinds of resources that are there, and then you can kind of get a sense of where everything is. We've done a lot of electronic upgrades here with our OpenGov at the city as well, so people can file reoccupancy permits if you're going to be, taking on a space that was formerly occupied by another business. A lot of that's electronic, but we're happy to talk to anybody, either in this economic development side of the office or in our planning development side of the office. This is a lot of relationship building. It's a lot of discussion that we have as well, of course.
Beautiful. And we'll make sure to link that in the show notes. We'll link
That'd be great.
to mentormeansbusiness.com as well to your LinkedIn, Kevin. So thank you for that, and thank you for your wonderful, thoughtful and your wisdom today. I really appreciate it. So for the final question, what's one of the podcasts that you really do? You listen to podcasts, first of all? Let me ask you that. Are you?
I had this conversation with a close friend of mine before I came on an interview. I'm podcast deficient. I really am, and I need to be more because she's definitely not. We've been talking about quite a bit about that lately. That I need to do a lot better with that. I'm in the car a lot. It's just one of those things. And it's funny. I'm very involved with the Cleveland Council on World Affairs. We actually have our foreign relations subgroup meeting tonight, and we always ask the speaker if they have a podcast they could recommend or that type of thing. And now it's funny that I'm being asked that question. I'm like, oh, geez, no. I'm horribly deficient in that area. So I'm like a complete blank right now.
No worries. What about a book? We'll switch it to a book. Do you have a favorite book, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, business related, not business related? What are you reading now, or what have you read recently?
Sure. I would say, in terms of one book that really put me, I think, on the right path when I started at the chamber. I think it's called The First 90 Days or something. It's kind of a CEO, I would say a to-do guide or what have you, a guide. But I remember that being very impactful. I also, when I took that job, Who Moved My Cheese? I mean, that's obviously traditional business, philosophy type of book that's out there. That's always, I reread that, especially looking at transition and inflection points in my life. I think those are both two very traditional books that are out there. I read a lot of biographies. and a lot of nonfiction that's out there. So, I'm of course blanking right now in terms of one that I need to think about but those are two books I would definitely recommend.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I know we had a very heavy and dense conversation with a lot of information.
Oh,
So
great.
I really appreciate it. We've had Kevin D. Malecek on the show here. Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex. Great to join you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Alpha Bites. If you found today's insights valuable, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with your network. Let's keep the conversation going. Connect with us on social media or visit us at alphakeydigital.com/alphabytes. Remember, the keys to your digital success are just a bite away. See you next time.